Welcome to some fun. We're going to be talking to my friend Tracy McCubbin. If you're not familiar with Tracy, one of my favorite interviews of 2019 was with Tracy, partly because I feel like too many of us have clutter in our lives, whether it's in our computer, in our schedule, in the stuff around us, the physical stuff. And what I like that Tracy talks about a lot is that she talks about really what's behind the clutter in the first place, which is fascinating. So, but while we're stuck at home, I thought, what a better person to chat with than our friend Tracy. Let's bring her on. One of my favorite interviews from last year. And by the way,
hi.
I don't have, Tracy, I'll tell everybody this too, before we say hi to you. I just don't have room to keep all the books from all the people that we interview. We have so many. So I try to do giveaways and stuff, but this one has stayed with me.
Yay!
Because I pick it up and I remind myself, by the way, not only a useful book, and I'm not here selling your book, I'm just telling you that I really like it. Not only a useful book, but you guys, maybe we'll start here because this book is so pretty. It's a very physically beautiful book, and people send me books. And so tell me about that, about the physical presentation of this.
Yeah. So, hi, Joe. It's so good to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you. How's your mom? How's the basement? For so many people, their clutter and their issue with their stuff is really shameful. They've heard they're messy their whole life. They've heard I have a problem, being decluttered is the right way. My way is the wrong way. So I wanted to make the book be something that they would feel proud to have out, that it wasn't a sort of shaming, like stacks of paper falling over or, you're doing it wrong, that I wanted it, because my whole goal is I want people to feel happy in their homes, and I want their homes to be beautiful to them. So I wanted the book to be something that people could have out and not like it was this dirty little secret, literally dirty, so that was the intention behind it. So I'm so happy with it. It's so beautiful. It makes me happy to look at it, and it's great. And people, like you said, go back and refer to it, or when things in their lives change, they may come up against different emotional things around their clutter. So it's really there as a resource.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool resource. And sometime we're talking behind the scenes. I'd love to get, talk about your discussion with the publisher on and all that stuff.
The discussion.
Yeah.
When they go, it's like this.
Exactly. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Bill. Glad you're hanging out with us. Tracy, let's start here. We're all stuck at home. We finally have this opportunity we've been waiting for, right? Mm-hmm. All those little things that we've been putting off. When it comes to decluttering the house, where do we start?
This is so fantastic. So I started to get a flood of texts and emails and like, what do I want to do? So I put up, I've been putting up every day on my Instagram page, which is Tracy_McCubbin, a 2-minute video with a short project. I think I'm up to 26 of them now, and I'm going to keep going as long as we're safer at home. And the thing that I'm finding for people is there's sort of this idea of, oh, we're just at home and we got plenty of time and we're going to tackle a bunch of things. That's not the case. We're either homeschooling, we're worried about not working, we're working from home, the laundry, the meal prep, the whole thing around the food. We don't actually have as much time as we thought. So what I'm encouraging people to do is do smaller projects, right? Like make a list of here's the 6 things I'd like to get accomplished, and look at how many, what's the time it's going to take. So this is an hour project. This is maybe a 3-hour, it's that old saying, plan your work, work your plan. Like that really, really don't expect you're going to get it all done. Don't expect that you have as much time, but it is really good. And some people are going great, deep dives, like, you know what? I'm going to tackle photos. They're like doing those big ones. And other people are like, I'm going to tackle my junk drawer. So I think you have to really, go easy on yourself if you're not going to, the other day I was like, I should be coming out of this with 6-pack abs and, learning how to bake bread. And I'm like, nope, none of that. So I think the couple things for people to pay attention to is, now that you're in your house day in, day out, where does your house work for you? What room do you find yourself you like to be in, and where don't you like to be? And once you can create that awareness of like, oh, actually, you know, my kitchen's never really worked, and it's because the drawer closest to the dishwasher is full of plastic utensils when I use, you know, flatware. So I think it's a paying attention of how is your home working for you, and where does it make you happy?
So I guess then you start with the room then that would make you the happiest
Or the unhappiest.
or the unhappy. Oh yeah.
Right. So you can kind of look at it either way. Like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm finding all my time being in my living room and my kitchen, but I'm not going into the family room, or I don't spend any time, you know, where do you like to be, and where don't you like to be, and why don't you like to be in there?
Yeah, there's a lot of you talk a lot about the feelings behind a lot of having clutter. Like there's a lot of feelings wrapped up in this stuff that we don't get rid of.
Exactly. So I call them emotional clutter blocks. So basically, we have written these narratives about why we can't get rid of our stuff, or why we buy more stuff. And there are 7 emotional clutter blocks, and they range everything from keeping us stuck in the past to a big one I've been seeing during this time is I'm not worth my good stuff. So here we are at home, and I'm seeing pictures of people like eating off of plastic plates. And I'm like, well, you're home and you have time to wash the dishes. Like, use the nice china, burn that candle, you take that bath salts, right? So I don't want to use my nice stuff. I'm the stuff that other people have left me. Do you have a garage full of furniture from your parents or your grandparents? Avoiding your stuff, my fantasy stuff for my fantasy life. So there are these 7 emotional clutter blocks, and they keep us attached to our stuff.
It's funny you say that, because right after we talked, I realized that very thing, that that we have all, like, I have this. I used to collect these, which I try not to collect anything anymore, but I used to collect those. Oh my goodness, Hard Rock Cafe mugs, like the
Uh-huh.
big mugs, and I'd never drink out of them, and they just
Uh,
sat there. You know what I started doing? I started drinking out of them. And I'm like,
yeah.
"You know what? Let's enjoy them." And then when they break, thank God they're gone.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. If you're not using it, why do you have it? A big thing everyone's doing now, clearly, a deep dive on their finances, and where can we really save now? Because some of us don't know when we're going back to work. And I'm getting a lot of calls about outside storage units,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's a $10 billion industry. It's $200 to $1,000 a month. If you have something in storage off site, if you have to go and get it to use it, you're not using it. So why are you paying to store it? Why do you have things in your life you don't use? And I think that yep.
No. Well, on that note, because a lot of the stuff people don't use that they have is these pictures, the old mementos of things that they've done. And you said something powerful to me when we first talked about this, that surrounding yourself with all this stuff from the past makes you feel like your best days are in the past, which took this kind of cool stuff around me, Tracy, and maybe it over. Like I'm like, I gotta put this stuff away.
I did it to myself the other day. I was going through photos, and I kept showing my fellow these photos, like, look how pretty I used to be. Look how skinny I used to be. And he was like, stop. Like, what are you doing? And I got super depressed. And, that was a time, and that was then, and that was great. But right now is fantastic. I mean, right now isn't fantastic.
Yeah.
Right now is really hard. But, that stuff of what it used to be and where we came from. And, it causes us to look backwards and dwell on our mistakes. And I think that people are really, in this time that we're home, really evaluating what's important, and that we're out there and we're working so hard to make all this money to buy all this stuff. And now you're like, what do I need it for? I mean, now you're really in your home. How much of your stuff are you using?
Yeah.
Was it worth it to buy it?
Yeah. Hey, Paul. Actually, we've been here. We were a couple minutes late. Maybe Paul's getting a late start. Paul, you getting a late start today? Paul's getting a late start today, I think.
Is Paul an actual auctioneer,
Uh,
as his title says?
Paul is an action, but Paul does a lot of different things. I know. Paul just joined the basement, was telling us all the different things that he does. The only auctioneers that I ever knew growing up were when somebody's farm would go belly up and they'd have an auction, and it was the person clearing out the house. Until last week, we had an interview with Lydia Finette, who is one of the top auctioneers at Christie's. So she's more like the old English guy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I do a lot of, we send a lot of people's things to auctions. That was my background too, was the farm auctions. And my family's was farmers from Central California, and it was all a tisk, tisk, tisk. They couldn't keep it together. They had to auction the farm. They literally lost the farm, but we've done really well. Can I answer a question that just popped up from Bill?
The one that Bill's talking about?
Yeah, he says, I'm a minimalist and my wife is an accumulator. So Bill, just so you know, in the great cosmic joke of things, the universe handed me my great love, and he has a lot of stuff. he's kind of messy. So a couple things that in this conversation, and I do joke with my clients that marriage counseling is included. It's about the conversation that clutter stops the house from working efficiently. So it's not about you're right and she's wrong, but it's about how do we get the common areas to work efficiently? So how can we cook in our kitchen when the counters aren't covered with stuff? And how do we, where do things go? Because I want to put my keys down so every day I know where to get them. So it's a conversation about the community spaces and how they work together and how they make the family coexist less stressful. And then also about, from your point of view, giving her some spaces that you're like, I just don't go in there. That's your space. I'm not going to look in there. Can you give her a closet? Can you give her a guest room? Can you give her something so that she can do it? But really have a conversation about, this is about making the house work well for us as a family or us as a couple. And I think that, oftentimes when people are cluttered people, they've been beaten up about it their whole lives. And so they can go into these conversations with their hackles up. So it's about finding the community spaces, making them work, and then giving her some spaces that you just stay out of.
It's interesting. You must come across that a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And you really have, it's like every part of a relationship. Some stuff you just have to suck up. Like, I don't even want to talk about how many cords and cables are in my house. I'm like, really? All of them? We need all of these?
Every single one. We got to have them all. It's funny. I used to beat myself up about my clutter until I heard that Barbara Streisand is like one of the messiest person ever. And she said that it's a sign of genius. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, then I'm a genius, Tracy. I must flip it. Absolute genius.
And, here's the thing. It's like, I'm getting this question a lot from people who are stuck at home with their kids, and how do I get my kids to do this? And it's about look, the worst conversation is, where are my keys? Where are my this? Where am I that? And then running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And my point is that your home, at the end of the day, your home is a tool. It's a place that you live. It keeps you safe. It keeps you healthy, and it keeps you happy. So I'm not a minimalist, and I don't think that really works. So for some people it does. I think it's really hard. So it's about clearing out the clutter so that your home works and supports you, that you feel happy in it, and that you can get done what you need to get done.
Jason has what I think is a joke, but I want to turn it into a serious question. Cable drawers for, and the cable box, isn't it?
And the cable box. And I'm going to bet, Jason, that your cable box lives under your bed, because I can tell you how many houses I've been in there, like, pull it out from underneath. Well, I might need all these.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Funny because when I think about my cable drawer, I think about, which is right over there, I think about there is a cable in there that I'm fairly certain it hooks up to this light I have out in the garage, but I haven't tested it yet. So I keep all the cables because one of them might be that one. You must hear that.
Well, all the time. And we just did it. We just moved, because what do you do in the middle of a pandemic?
Of course,
Move.
you have to.
Super fun, let me tell you. Really a fun way to do it. But I had all my cables and I pulled them all out and, was like, all right, what do I need? This one that goes to the thing in the airline. No, get rid of it. And he was a little like, but maybe. And here, the other thing I have found is that most outdated cables you can buy for pretty cheap on eBay.
Yeah. I found.
Oh yeah. He said, once you throw it out, that's the one you'll need. I know. Then you get to call me up and say, I told you so.
So let's dive into, we were at the point of, we take a project, we do a little project, we do a room, we do a drawer, we do one little thing. I got that. Where do I start? You've got like putting likes together and then 4 different boxes, right?
Yeah. So the basic tenet of organizing, the place that you start is let's say you're doing your linen closet, right? Or you're doing your garage. Let's start with a cupboard in your garage, the tools. Pull everything out and put like with like. And that does a couple things. One, it tells you how much of everything you have. So, I have 10 Phillips head screwdrivers, but I only have 1 flathead. I have this many. The other thing it does, this is the science behind it. I learned this, and this was so fascinating. When people are good multitaskers, what they actually they have the ability to sequence back and forth. And people with ADD sequence forward and don't sequence backwards. So if you have a mess of stuff in front of you and you have a light bulb and you have a screwdriver and you have a VHS tape, your mind is constantly sequencing back and forth from category to category to category, and it makes it really hard to make decisions. But if you have a pile of light bulbs, a pile of tools, a pile of rags, a pile of Christmas cards, you know what that category is, and you can make a clear decision about it. So every time you jump from a category, you have to, sequence back and forth. So it clears the decision-making process, and you go, okay, I know how much I have, and I can make a decision about these things. And then it goes in the keep, donate, which we can't do right now because no places are open. So we're just telling people to tuck it aside, the toss or recycle.
Yeah. We actually, there was a donate bin, and it was overflowing, cause I'm sure they haven't picked it up in a while, but we took 7 bags of clothing and dropped them off. I kind of felt bad because they might be ruined by the time that, they go.
You know what I have been seeing people do during this Safer at Home is, especially parents have been posting a picture on Facebook or something saying, I have a bunch of toys. My kids aren't playing with them anymore. I've wiped them down. If you want, I'll drop them off on your doorstep. So I've been seeing, and people have been doing it with books on Instagram too. I'll mail this book to you, which has been really cool.
That's a great idea. Not spending money and using stuff. Cause that's one thing that I think about now that I didn't think about before I decided to start getting rid of stuff. And maybe it was right after I talked to you, cause I feel like I've been on this mission lately, Tracy, but but I also feel like if I've got something and I'm not using it, I'm depriving somebody else of using that thing,
Yeah. And especially if you think about books, that's the thing to me about books. Cause I'm like, once you've read a book, look, the only reason we keep tons and tons of books is to show off how smart we are, right? Look at all these books I've read.
Yeah.
But a book is meant to be read. So if it's sitting on your shelf, someone else can't read it. Look, I'm an author, so I want everybody to buy books, but you want to get them out in the world. And I think now that we're home, we're really figuring out how much of our stuff we use and don't use. And, this is the other time, again, with really not spending money right now, just, figuring out how long this is going to, use the stuff that you have. Use the stuff that you spent the money on. You're like, okay, I bought this shampoo I'm not crazy about, but I'm going to work through it. Let's not spend any money.
We decided to do that last week. We kind of want to stay away from the grocery store. And so we decided we were going to clean out, everything that we had. And, I think we're going to make it another 10 days, which at the time I thought was, there was no way we were going to do it. But now today we were reaching into the freezer, taking stuff out of the freezer that, you know,
Yeah, we're doing the same thing. We're trying we're trying to go. I think we're going to be able to get another 7 days. We had to pick up cream for coffee at the little corner store, but we've been eating the freezer. And this is actually a great conversation for your folks. Food expiration dates aren't real.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been talking a lot about that, the best buy and use by. I mean, we're going to have a guest appearance from Marfella. He's going to go look at his cords and cables in there. He's going to pull it out and go, I needed this. But best buy and use by dates are really arbitrary. And Harvard did a huge study. And the best way to tell if something has gone off is to smell it. Just smell it. If it smells bad, it's gone off. So I've been suggesting to people, and I did it myself. I had a can of anchovies from 2016 the other day, and they were delicious. And I did not get sick. So if you're trying to avoid the grocery store, like maybe those beans from eat them. You'll know if it's bad. And that's it's a really, we've got to get into that mindset. We just can't run to the store and pick up, an ingredient.
We started smelling Mom's Neighbor Doug a couple of years ago, and we told him he's expired, but he still stays around. I have no idea what's going on there, Tracy. It's absolutely horrible.
You're you you're over. You got to go. I know, but I think that we're in this time, decluttering, and our relationship to our stuff also is about, what do we use? What are we really using? What do we like having around us? And I think people are looking kind of deep into themselves and into their homes.
Do you keep spares of anything these days?
Me? Yeah, I do. There's a couple products that I'll order. I'll order 3 or 4 of them. I have a few beauty products I keep spares of. But yeah, it's funny. True confession, I think my grandmother lived through the Depression, and I've always sort of thought I was going to turn into her, and I've totally turned into her. I'm was mending a button the other day, and I'm hanging sheets out on the line, and
well, but that's an interesting discussion too. When you talk about mending a button, stuff breaks now, and this is a part of your book. Stuff breaks, and our brains go back to that depression or whatever. Maybe it's part of us as people that we think, hey, I'll fix this someday. But things are so disposable, it's just as easy to go buy something else. So we go buy something new, but we never throw away the old broken one.
Exactly. And the thinking about that is, it's it's so easy and it's so cheap to just go buy something new. Well, guess what? It's not that cheap. First of all, now you can't. And second of all, the cost of cheap clothes and what it does to the planet. And you're you know what? Maybe it's about having fewer, better things. And maybe it's about repairing the things that I have. I think I'm hoping that one of the upsides of this crisis is that we're going to shop less, and that we're going to, use what we have and sew a button on and, fix something and kind of appreciate it, and that things won't be so disposable.
What do you think about these organizational systems that are out there, like a California Closet, or, some of these systems that you can buy at Target or wherever?
I think that they're great if you have a good planner. Sometimes people don't know and they just sort of slap them in there. I've had really great success with California Closets. The Container Store has Alpha, which I actually think is on sale right now. And that I've had really good, the thing about
the Container Store, I'm sorry, Tracy, but the Container Store for me,
special kind of hell.
Well, no. I think of it as like organizational porn. Like I'm going to organize everything when I go in there. I'm like, this place is incredible. I want to buy 50 of these organizers, 40 of those organizers. And before I know it, that place isn't cheap. And I've bought.
No. And I tell people the number one rule, because clients will always say to me, well, what should I buy before you get there? And I'm like, nothing. Do not buy anything. Let's go through what we have. Let's see what we can reuse. And then maybe we'll buy something, because it's laid out so that you just go, it's all shiny and white. It's like the mecca of organizing. And if you're buying lots of bins to put things in, then maybe you have too much stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like the bags of bags.
Yeah. Closets specifically. It's like I get in ruts. I'm sure most people get in ruts where I've got the same piece of clothing that I wear over and over and over and over. Right. And then I go to the back of my closet and I'm like, I love this shirt and I never wear it. Do you have a closet organizing system that you use so that I keep maybe a smaller, refreshed wardrobe more often?
Yeah. So we wear 20% of our clothes 80% of the time.
Right. Sure.
So it's really about being honest. Do you love it? Like, do you feel, is it comfortable? Do you wear it out? Have you worn it I say 6 months, sometimes I live in LA, we have no seasons, but if you worn it in the last year, there's a couple tricks. Have you put something on once, twice, 3 times, and then taken it off and not left the house in it? That's the thing. Do you wear it? Is there dust on the shoulders? It's about being honest about what you wear. It's about, going through, I think twice a year. I think our closets need twice a year. They need to get rid of it. And also being mindful about what you're buying, right? And the great thing about that good old tenant like with like is that if you put all your shirts together, you put all your pants together, you put all your sweaters together, you see how much you have. And then you're like, oh, I have 8 black shirts that are exactly the same. These are what I like to wear. I'm not going to buy any more of them.
I found that I had way too many running t-shirts just from running races. I had tons of 5K and 10K t-shirts. And I remember doing that, putting them all in a stack and realizing I don't need 40 of these. I need maybe 8 of these and I'm good, and then I run my workouts and go through those 8. And what's interesting too, then whenever I sign up now for a 5K or a 10K, I write right on the thing. I tell them, don't give me a t-shirt, donate that money to whatever the cause is.
Yeah. It's interesting. I run a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit. And when we do t-shirts for events or things, we do a little bit higher end. You can get t-shirts for so cheap, but nobody ever wears them. So we, spend a little bit more and get the t-shirts that people wear. But lots of times people are like, give it to somebody else. I'm not going to wear it. I have seen a really cute thing I've done for a bunch of clients is that if you really want to take on a project, people are making quilts out of their old t-shirts.
Oh, cool.
So I did it for a client and it was like her husband's, flag football team. And it was a great quilt and the kids use it in the TV room. And so if they are kind of special, that's a really fun thing to do. But, you ran a 5K. Do you need the t-shirt to remind you did it?
But I do like, I also get suckered into, I love some of the designs on some of the t-shirts at places, touristy places we go. We went to the Canadian Rockies. I had to get one that said Glacier National Park on it, but that would be a cool quilt, like of different places that I went later and it's not clogging up my closet.
Can I tell you a big hint about that? Because my fella is a big fan of he calls them softy shirts. When we travel, we'll go to a thrift store and he'll buy a used shirt from the place we're at. So they're like $1 instead of so we go everywhere. It's great. So they're already used, they're already worn in, and they're $1 or $2. He likes to go on Senior Day at the Goodwill.
That's a great idea though, because lives in Jasper has a Jasper t-shirt. So you probably see them all over the place. Yeah.
So instead of spending $29 at the hotel or in the airport. So that's a fun little trick.
JM Boot says, maybe the downside of going through everything that you have. A few months back, I used up a shampoo I didn't like and it backfired. My husband had to wash our hair daily, so my water bill was $30 higher. Maybe throwing that one out might be a better idea.
Yeah, sometimes, right? It's a cost bit, like,
Yeah,
I do like, yeah, I was just looking at that. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. That's great. That's great. I know my grandmother always said, throw something away, wears away. Right?
that's fantastic. That's that's great. The, anything specific for garages?
Can you park your car in them?
That's
That's where you start. Do you know only 25% of Americans can park their cars in their garage?
really
75% of Americans who have garages cannot park their cars in them. So I joke, we keep our $40,000 cars on the street and we fill our garages full of garbage.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I think it's really about the thing about garages. It's where clutter goes to die, right? It's the old kids' bikes. It's the sport you used to play. I mean, if there's any project you can do during this time, I would love to see people tackle their garages, pull it all out, old paperwork, boxes and boxes of old paperwork. Now while you're sitting around or on a conference call that you're on mute, like start shredding that stuff. I mean, if you can't get to something, if you can't use it, why do you have it?
It's funny. I'm thinking as you talk that sometimes I look at these projects. You were talking earlier about, making the project smaller and about how on Instagram you have these smaller projects. But even then, sometimes it might seem intimidating. But I gotta bet, Tracy, just knowing me, that the problem is starting. Once I get started and I actually get in there, you must see people when you're working with them on decluttering, like the wheel starts spinning and it goes faster and faster once they finally get it through their head that they can do it.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing about starting. The great thing, and it sort of goes back to this idea of like, where are you happy in your home, is focus on, instead of, oh, I got to get this done, I got to organize my garage. Focus on the outcome, what you want about it. The thing about like paying down debt, I've been listening to a bunch of your podcasts and talking about paying down debt, and that you set these goals for yourself, and that you're like, oh, when I don't have this debt, I won't have this stress, or I will, this is a pinch right now, but this is going to be the goal. And it's the same with decluttering. When I clean out my garage, I will be able to park my car in it. Do you know how nice it'll be to be able to bring my groceries right into the house? Or I will feel so much better. Clutter is a constant to-do list, right? It's always in the back of your head. So if you have a garage that you can't go into, you're like, oh, just think about it. Even though you don't think about it, you think about it. So if you can concentrate on what's my goal, what's my vision? I want to build a gym. I want to be able to work out. I can't go to my gym anymore. If I clean out my garage, then I will be able to set a gym up in there. So if you can flip the script, and instead of beating yourself up about it and looking at this horrible chore, go, what am I going to get out of it?
Oh, that's fantastic. Cause I love the thought of the clean garage. Like, as you're saying that, I can see it. My garage is pretty clean already, but man, I always see this pristine garage, or I see, somebody's got one that I see online and I'm like, I want that.
Yeah, I know. That's organizing porn for me. I go past a clean garage, like with the cement floors, and I'm like at their door. Hello.
Yes. Can I just hang out here, please? I'll eat dinner on your garage floor. But there has to be a problem on the other side. As you're talking, Tracy, I'm also thinking about clutter, but I'm thinking about buying in the first place, right? I mean, there's got to be, you can declutter all day, but if you don't stop bringing crap home, it's just going to come back. How do you maintain the declutter lifestyle?
So that's fantastic. People always say to me when I go to their houses and do content, like, I don't know how it got like this. And I'm like, well, you brought it in. Like, it didn't just show up. So it's a couple of things. A really easy way to start is swap out the word. And right now, this couldn't be any more apropos. Stop saying I need something, like I need a new pair of jeans. I need this. Start saying I want it. Right? I want a new pair of jeans, or I want new, speakers. Because as soon as you change that out, you realize, oh, I actually don't need new speakers. I just want them. So that's the mindset. Also, I heard this recently, and I've been doing it for myself. For every $50 that something cost, you wait 24 hours to buy it. So you kind of go like, all right, $150, 3 days later, do I still want this? Right. And, one of my clutter blocks is my stuff tells me who I am. And that's really about shopping. That's, I'm not lonely because I'm online at night shopping. Literally when Amazon packages come, you're like, oh, someone sent me a present. No, you bought it,
Yeah.
So it's really about what's the thrill you're getting? What's the dopamine hit, right? What's happening to you with that online shopping? And I think that when you realize that you're trying to use the shopping and the buying to fill something else, right? Loneliness, maybe self-worth, panic, right? We all panic bought before this. So if you can look at why am I shopping and do I really need it, then that's going to flip the script for you.
I'm not a huge shopper, but I will say, because I keep going back to this as we talk, when we go on vacations, I buy the t-shirt, right? I go into bookstores and I we're at some place and I want to know the history. So I buy the books on that. So I've got crap loads of travel books and crap loads of, the t-shirt I'm wearing today is from a concert I went to, Postmodern Jukebox.
So, but see, you're wearing the t-shirt. So that's a great t-shirt.
It is, but I'll tell you what I found. I found often just taking a picture of this, like instead of buying it, just taking a picture of it. And then I go through the pictures and I see the picture that says Glacier National Park, or I see the picture that says whatever. And then if I take a picture of the book and instead of buying the book, I get it from the library and then I have to return it. Like it's so much better. And I have to remind myself that all the time. I remember we were in line to check out and I had these 2 books and all of a sudden I'm like, I can get these from the library and I'm not going to want them forever. And sure enough, my local library had both of them.
Yeah. And especially travel books, like you go to, Banff, Canada, and you're like, well, I'm not going to become a Banff, Canada expert, but I do want to read, I want to read this little book. I know in so many libraries right now during all of this have opened up. Now they have all their ebooks are free. So if you have a library card, you have access to all their ebooks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's super awesome. So I think it's really, we have to be really accountable moving forward. We don't know what the other side of this is going to be like. A lot of people don't know when they're going to be going back to work, so I think that our spending and what we're buying and what we're consuming, I think it's really got to change. I just think that cheap consumer goods, I feel like in the same way that obesity really took off when food became cheap, when prepared high calorie, food, that's when we saw obesity. I feel the same way about clutter. When we saw cheap goods coming in, then it was, I'll just buy a new shirt. I'll buy a 30 pack of pens, and I think on the other side of this, that's going to change. I think people aren't going to be able to spend like they used to. We're going to have to get really mindful about what we're bringing into our house. And I think we're going to see people's relationship to stuff really change.
Man, I hope so. I really hope so. We got a lot of chatter that I've been
I know.
and I apologize, guys. Bill commenting about college bookstore prices. Instead of paying college bookstore prices for college logo clothing, found tons of those for almost nothing at thrift stores. Yeah.
Bill, I love it. That's great.
Yeah. JM Boots missed this part. It's worth going over again though, Tracy. What do you think about storage units, Tracy?
I have a very, very strong opinion. They are bad. They are really bad. And the first thing that I want you to do, and this is going to be rough, and I'm supporting you, I want you to add up everything that you've spent on that storage unit since you've had it. I want you to get the total, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And then I want you to look inside and acknowledge that nothing, I have been in thousands of storage units, and I've yet to come across a storage unit that what's in there is worth more than you paid to store it. So get real about that number. And here's what I was saying before. If you have things that you own that are stored off-site that you have to go to get it, you're not going to go and get it. So you don't need that stuff. Like that storage units are, and there's a lot of reasons you don't want to make the decisions, but now more than ever, it's just, we gotta let it go. And that's the first way to do it, is to get real honest about that number. Sorry.
When we were moving from Texas to Michigan, we didn't know how long it was going to take our house to sell. And so we put our house on the market 6 months before we moved. And of course, our house sold in 2 days. So we got a storage unit during that time because we were moving into a 3-room apartment over my friend's dad's garage. So by the way, a great lesson, Tracy, that teaches you that you don't need as much stuff as you think is when you move back from, a nice size house into a much smaller place. But we put a bunch of our stuff in a storage unit, and before we moved to Texas, everything in that storage unit went through this process of, I haven't had it for the last 6 months. Am I really ever going to use this again? And we only ended up taking maybe a third of the stuff that had been in that storage unit, to your point.
Yeah, no, I mean, a huge part of my business is helping people clean out storage units. And it is very, very, very rare. It's very rare. And I think if people are looking to cut costs right now, that's the first place to go.
Yeah. Bill says it's interesting how a consumer culture leads to clutter. Tracy's right about tackling it from the consumption side too. Absolutely. The whole start of your book talks, I think, a lot about that.
This is so fun, Joe. All these people, it's so fun.
I told you ahead of time. We hang out with nice people.
Yeah, it's so great.
Susan says, when my dad died, my brother and I had to take care of his house from out of town. We hired an estate sale person to handle it. Totally worth it. We cleared $10K after she took her cut. Tons of stuff. Do you like these estate sale people to go in and wholesale, go through it, or sell it piece at a time?
Sometimes, yeah, I do. I think that you have to do a little bit of due diligence and, find a reputable one. Oftentimes a realtor can, but, if people live out of town and you've got to clean a house in a weekend, it is great. It doesn't end up in the landfill. I think it can be, and oftentimes what'll come in is the family will fly in, get what they need and leave. And then you're like, all right, sell that half full bottle of laundry detergent. But if you can get a good one, it can really help offset the cost.
Yeah.
They can be great. Just do your due diligence. Just find, get one that's really well referred. Yeah, but they've been very, very successful.
That'll change things in a hurry. Susan puts one spin on this, Tracy. I want to put a different one on it. She says, I don't want my kids to have to deal with my stuff. So that's a big motivator for me. I'll tell you, Susan, when I was a financial planner, another thing that was big for me when I knew my clients had a lot of stuff, if you give your loved ones stuff while you're alive and happy and healthy, you get to actually see them enjoy it versus waiting until you've passed away and then they're getting things then. So as much as possible, I encourage my clients to give stuff away. Like if it's going to be meant for your daughter when you die, give it to your daughter now.
That's so great. I say that to my clients all the time, especially, when they're senior downsizing. It's like, if you're not going to wear that piece of jewelry, give it. Like, nothing makes it happier than when your granddaughter comes over and is wearing that necklace.
Yeah.
Like, give that painting now, give it, and it's funny because the interesting thing about that is oftentimes the receiver will be really freaked out. Like, that's so morbid. And no, you love that. Don't do that. But I always try and explain, like, they want to see you enjoy it, right? That's a huge part of the gift. So I'm a big, big proponent. Like, give it away while you can. My niece was just up visiting my mom, and she called me up and she's like, Auntie T, I'm freaking out. Nana was telling me all this stuff she wants to give me, from before she dies. And I was like, no, that's great. Like, take it, except for that thing. That's mine.
That's right. You can't
get your paws off that.
Right. I did notice that too, that whenever there were estate fights in families, it was never about the riches. It was about mom wanted me to have that chair.
Right. Which is another fantastic. If you were a financial planner, you saw the worst of worst. And this is what I tell clients all the time. Like, if you give it away now, that fight's gone, right? Like, give it away, do it. And I think that this should be a very open, fluid, transparent conversation, because that's where the resentment comes in.
Paul wonders how many barbecue girls he can have.
We need a gas grill, so want to send one over to me? But what's a pellet grill? I don't even know what that is.
I think if you love grilling and you use them all, then there's no problem, right? Isn't it all about?
Right. Well, that's great. I have 5 questions that you can ask about everything in your house, to decide whether it should stay or go. And if people go to my website, tracymccubbin.com, and sign up for my email list, I'll send them a PDF of these questions. And that's one of the questions. Do you love it? Do you love it?
Yeah. Jennifer commenting about how she does what you said about your $50 rule, or 50, 100, 150, 1, 2, 3 days. She puts things on Amazon wish list, and after a day or two, she forgets about them. I've done that too, Jennifer.
And then you go to order something else and you're like, why is that in my, what is that? I do think, and I know somebody's probably written about this or talked about this. I think there's something about Amazon and the way it's set up. Like it's almost like a slot machine or something. It must trigger something in our brain, because you just, you fall down a wormhole and you just order more. So I think that's great. Put it in your wish list and then come back in a couple days.
When I was reading the book, The Everything Store, which is a fantastic read or great listen, and I just stopped there because I just used my Audible credit this month to get the audio version of I already have your book, and I got the audio version so I can listen to pieces from time to time. So you can listen to
thank you.
your own narration of her book. But anyway, so back to our original programming. What I was saying was that oh boy, I just lost it. I got so excited about talking about
the Everything Store.
Yes, the Everything Store. They were surprised. Amazon was surprised, Tracy, when the patent office allowed them to get the patent on one-click ordering. You can't do one-click ordering anywhere else because Amazon owns the patent, is my understanding from reading that book. And when they got that and they realized that they had something nobody else could get, online shopping, the only place you can do one click is there. I think that one-click thing is incredibly addictive and destructive.
It's gotta be. I mean, and I do think there's something about that one click, and then this idea of a present comes in the mail.
Yeah.
Like, you forget and you're like, oh, somebody loves me. There used to be the days when you got checks, you got good news in the mail. Now you just not anymore. And so I think that that's really, there's a psychology of you order it and the next day it shows up and you feel like someone's thinking about you or sending you something.
Yeah. You're like, oh, cool. Then, oh crap. Jason, first thing to really do on storage unit, build another garage and fill.
Well, that works.
Convert a carport to a garage. You just fill that one. Yeah. I think, Jason, you may have a problem.
Yeah, I think, Jason, you might be giving me a call.
Yeah. A fitness guru, what they think about belt extensions. Let me see. Let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness. If you're cleaning out your car, the back seat of your car, then I think there's a lot of
stuff. That, by the way, who's driving their cars right now? Clean it out.
That's true.
You'll be sent home with it. Oh, that's so cute. And I saw Susan Kramer said this, that her mom gives her stuff and you just take it, and whether you want it or not. I do the same thing. Sometimes, clients will be like, oh, you take it. And I just smile and take it. And,
I've had relatives do that too. They hand me their junk going, I thought you want this. Thank you very much. And
well, I have a theory too about regifting. I have a theory. I'm all for regifting, but I think you have to be transparent. Say, someone gave me this. I don't care for it. I'm never going to use it. Would you like it? I'm all good for that. But I think sometimes with regifting, people give you things that they hate. So they got a crappy gift, so they're passing it on to you. And I'm like, you just didn't want to deal with
this. One of those from somebody recently that Cheryl and I were talking about this morning. And yeah, we're really not sure why they thought of us. And I don't want to say what it is or who it was out loud, but it was we're like, I don't.
I'm going to guess that they didn't think of you and they just wanted to get rid of it.
It has to be. They're like, it's enough. Birthday, give him that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, no, it's just like, oh, you're just like, what is doing that? I know I've been getting, it's funny, in Everybody Decluttering, I've been getting lots of texts from people like, can I just let this go? It was a birthday present. And I'm like, let it go. Let it go. My niece just turned 20 and I called her up and I said, what do you want? And she said, I just want a gift card to REI. I want to buy really nice hiking boots.
Awesome.
That's what I really want. And I was like, great, 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 great.
Super for everybody. Straightforward. You know she's going to use it. That's great.
And
all right, everybody. I think we did it. Tracy, thanks. I can't believe that was an hour. Can you believe we hung out?
It was so fun. I know. It was so fun. I could stay on here for 4 more hours.
So where do people find you? Let me put it up while we're talking about your website.
Great. So Instagram is a great place. Tracy_McCubbin. TracyMcCubbin.com. That's a great place. That you can sign up for my email list and you can get that PDF of should it stay or should it go? The 5 questions to ask yourself. I send an email about once a month. I don't clog up your inbox. Instagram and Facebook. This is Tracy McCubbin, because you know Facebook, they have to make it complicated. I've been putting up these videos. So they're 2 to 3 minute videos of little projects you can tackle. They're archived under my Instagram TV, and they're actually really helping people. Today we tackle, are you ready? Plastic utensils.
Oh. Are you going to washing your plastic utensils?
No, but see, I would always save mine because when I would take lunch on a job, but now I'm not going out and now I have a drawer of them. So we talk about that. Yesterday we tackled the junk drawer.
I don't have one of those.
You have.
4 of them.
Exactly.
Right. By the way, we talked about the library. I'm sure this isn't the library, but this is also, look at how nice just the presentation this book is. Like I mentioned earlier, if you weren't on at the start, there's very few books that I can keep because we get so many as we prep for authors coming on the show, but this one has stayed here. I'm not giving that one away. So, and
can I say one little thing about ordering books right now? Amazon has deprioritized ordering books, shipping books because of everything else that's going on. So Barnes & Noble is still shipping books, and my book is on sale on Barnes & Noble, but maybe reach out to your independent bookseller. They're all having a hard time and they've all moved to doing a lot of online shipping. I just ordered from the Tattered Cover in Denver. So I know that a lot of independent bookstores bought my book and it's available there. So maybe don't make your Amazon your first go-to for this.
Yeah, good idea. Powell's is one of my favorite bookstore. That's fantastic.
Powell's, Tattered Cover in Denver. They have a couple. That's a great one.
Have you ever been to Book People in Austin?
No. Is it great?
It's a great store too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it came really fast. It came really, really fast. And I was just really happy, and free shipping. I was really happy to support it. So maybe don't order books on Amazon right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, guys. Big thanks, Tracy. Thanks a ton. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Joe.
Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. If you haven't listened to today's show, everybody, if you regularly listen to the show, make sure you listen to our advertisement in the middle of the show. We had so much fun making that today, and Doug's trivia is better than ever. So if we laughed very hard making it, I'm hoping you guys laughed at least a little listening to it. So, all right, everybody, we'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.